I am a woman and a feminist, and I genuinely believe that gender flip films are sexist. Hold on. Before you chew my head off, I feel slightly conflicted about this. Now, I've seen a couple of these films at this point, and I must say, I'm not a big fan. First of all, while I do believe that women in films often get the short end of the stick, I personally don't think that it is justifiable for female-led films to be sexist towards men because of that. Now, we generally don't think of women as sexist, largely because historically, sexism has been something perpetrated by men towards women, and women simply lack the institutional power that men have. But sexism literally refers to the unequal treatment in relation to a person's gender. Now, it all started with women not getting the best representation in films, like really sexist depictions. If for some reason you don't know what I mean, take a look at any of the James Bond films that came out in the 60s, or any of the Indiana Jones films that came out in the 80s. You'll notice that these two franchises were about, of course, a man, suave, really charismatic, and got charming good looks. But what do they also have in common? A beautiful woman by their side, who is also completely useless and only knows how to scream. And yeah, things have changed. We do see more women on screen. But ever since the Me Too movement back in 2017-2018, Hollywood acted as if someone held a gun to their heads, and they've been forcing diversity and representation ever since. You could tell me that this trope is a means to even out the oversupply of male-dominated roles in the past, or that it points out the simply annoying nature of the women as objects trope. Or you could even tell me, but hey, women are getting the chance to be front and center. Isn't that a good thing too? And yeah, I agree, you're not wrong. Quite ridiculous that it's taken this long, but I guess better very late than never? But personally, I see this gender flipping trope as more of a setting up of us and them with men and women, which has already been the case throughout the history of film. If you take a look at the Ghostbusters remake, the men were as dumb as logs.
Did y'all hire that big dumb dude?
While the women were the smart and intelligent ones who needed to save the world. Look, I love seeing women taking on the role of the capable savior. I'm all in for it. But if we are ever going to achieve equality, we have to stop dividing between men and women. Why aren't we aiming to treat everyone, regardless of their gender or sexuality, equally? After all, isn't that what feminism is about? At least its original meaning anyway. Initially, feminism was about fighting for women's right to vote, because back then, women were left out of everything. Then it moved on to fighting for social equality in terms of education, reproductive freedom, and others. Nowadays, in order to gain equal footing, it just seems like one side has to be either weakened, emasculated, or dumbed down.
Which one of these makes me look more like a doctor? Me playing saxophone or me listening to saxophone?
We all know that men have an added advantage over women and other minorities. There's a huge gap right there. So, of course, we want to correct that gap. But gender flip tropes don't correct that gap, they just flip everything upside down. It's just a toxic cycle of you hit me first, so I'm gonna hit you back because you hit me first, right? Hollywood, representation is important, but don't force it. We can see it's not sincere, you just want our money. And not only is it important for representation, but we also need to start treating everyone equally, regardless of their gender and sexuality. You know what film does that well? The Old Guard. Just men and women being equals, fighting against what's truly evil and destructive in this world, like ignorance or capitalism, or patriarchy. No gender flip and or trope needed whatsoever. All in all, I've never seen a male version of Bridesmaids or Charlie's Angels. Are they needed? No. Why? Because the film industry is already writing original roles for men anyway. So why can't it be the same for women? If you really want remakes, make it a different story which gives more attention to an already established but underdeveloped character, like the recent Cruella film. Personally, I really like the idea. The execution wasn't that great, but at least it gives us an opportunity to see a different side to an iconic character. We should be supporting original minority or female stories, not some careless remake meant to rake in some big cash. If we continue putting each other down for our genders, hoping for things to turn out better, then I honestly don't think we're gonna go anywhere. Because to me, that's not progress. That's just being petty. That's all from me. I really like to know how you feel about all this. Do you agree? Do you respectfully disagree? Are there any films that make you feel this way? Or maybe there's a gender flip trope film that actually works for you. Don't be shy. Let's start a conversation down below, and I'll see you in the next one.